Karen sabotaged a kid's science fair project. Yes, she actually did that. Can you even imagine the level of pettiness it takes for a grown woman to destroy a child's hard work in front of an entire community? That's where our story begins, and oh boy, she had no idea how badly it was going to backfire. The science fair had been planned for months. The gymnasium was buzzing with excitement. The squeak of sneakers on the polished floor. The smell of poster board markers and glue still hanging in the air. Kids were running back and forth, adjusting their projects, trying not to spill soda on their display boards. Parents clutched phones, already positioning themselves to record every second. It was a small-town event, but to these kids, it was the Olympics. And then there was Ethan. Ethan was 12, skinny, glasses slipping down his nose. The kind of kid who'd rather spend hours wiring circuits in the garage than play basketball. He had worked for weeks on a solar-powered water filtration system. Something that actually mattered. Something that could help real communities. His mom told me he'd stayed up late every night. Soldering, testing, writing and rewriting his notes. This was not just a volcano with baking soda. This was serious. But enter Karen. Karen. Mid-40s. Platinum-dyed hair. Voice like nails on a chalkboard. She strutted around the gym as if she were head judge. Even though she was just another parent. She wasn't even volunteering. But Karen believed she owned every room she stepped into. And she hated Ethan. Why? Because her son, Brian, was also competing, and Karen had convinced herself that Ethan's project threatened her precious child's chances at winning first place. Never mind that Brian had put together some sloppy, which soda rusts a nail faster, experiment. Karen still saw Ethan as competition. And in her warped little mind, that was unacceptable. I'll never forget the sound. That sharp crack when Ethan's water filtration tubes suddenly snapped. One moment his system was humming along. Lights blinking. Water trickling through the filter. The next. Snap. Splash. A gush of water spilled across his table, soaking his notes, shorting out the battery pack. Gasps erupted. Ethan froze, hands shaking. What just happened? His voice cracked, barely above a whisper, but some of us saw it. Karen's hand. The way she had accidentally bumped into his table while pretending to fix her purse strap. A smug little smirk playing on her lips before she turned her back. Oh no, what a shame, Karen said loudly, dripping with fake sympathy. Maybe he should have built something sturdier. Guess it wasn't meant to be. I swear. The audacity. Parents exchanged looks. Teachers stiffened. Ethan's mom rushed forward, her hands fluttering helplessly over the soaked project. Ethan, we'll fix it. We'll fix it, she kept saying. But her eyes were already filling with tears. Karen just laughed. Yes, she actually laughed at a crying 12-year-old. And that's when the room shifted. You know that feeling? When a crowd collectively decides they've had enough. The whispers started. Someone muttered, "Did she do that on purpose?" Another said, "I saw her hand. She pushed it." The gym was no longer on Karen's side. But she didn't notice. Oh no. Karen was basking in the imagined glow of her son's victory. She dragged Brian to stand proudly in front of his soda bottles, snapping photos like he was Einstein himself. What she didn't realize was that Ethan wasn't alone. See, Ethan's project had been sponsored by a local community group, an environmental nonprofit that had actually donated money and equipment to help him build it. They weren't just watching. They were documenting everything. And one of their volunteers, a high schooler with a brand new iPhone, recording the entire fair for social media. Guess whose camera had caught Karen's bump crystal clear? The twist was coming. But in that moment, Ethan was devastated. His mom tried to comfort him, but he was already sobbing, whispering, "I worked so hard. I ruined everything." That broke hearts. Parents went quiet. Kids shifted uncomfortably. Even Brian looked uneasy. He wasn't cruel. Just a kid caught in his mother's storm. Then, one of the judges, Mr. Thompson, cleared his throat. "We'll take a short break," he announced. You could hear the tension crackling like static. Karen smirked, thinking the competition was hers now. But behind the scenes, teachers were replaying the footage. Whispers turned into angry mutters. And then, the nonprofit volunteer uploaded the clip online. By the time the judges reconvened, that video was already making the rounds on Facebook. I kid you not. The sound of Karen's fake gasp as she tripped played on repeat like a bad remix. People were furious. Comments poured in, "Who does this to a kid? Ban her immediately. That poor boy." When the judges returned, Karen was still standing smugly beside Brian's project. "Well," she drawled, "I guess we know who the winner is now, don't we?" But Mr. Thompson's face was stone. He raised a hand. "Before we announce anything, there's an issue we need to address." Karen frowned. "Issue? What issue?" The gym doors opened. Ethan walked back in, eyes red but determined. Behind him, the principal carried a laptop. The projector screen flickered on, and then played. The video, the bump, the smirk, the little oops. The collective gasp from the audience was deafening. Karen's face drained of color. That's not what it looks like," she screeched, waving her hands. "I tripped. I was trying to save it." One parent muttered. Another shouted, "We saw you, Karen." Karen's own son whispered, horrified, "Mom, what did you do?" The principal's voice cut through the chaos. Calm, sharp, final. "Karen, you are hereby banned from all future school events. Effective immediately." Silence. Then a ripple of cheers. Clapping. A few parents even whistling. Ethan's mom hugged him tight, whispering, "See, the truth came out." Karen tried to protest, but no one listened. She stormed out of the gym, heels clacking furiously on the hardwood, muttering threats about lawyers and defamation. Nobody cared. Her downfall was complete and it was public. But here's the kicker. The video didn't just go small-town viral. Local news stations picked it up. Parent Sabotage's kids' science project was plastered everywhere. Within days, Karen's name was synonymous with cruelty. She was roasted online. Memes were made. People mocked her fake trip in TikTok skits. She had become a punchline. And Ethan, he didn't just get sympathy. He got support. Donations poured in. The nonprofit helped him rebuild his project. Better than before. The next year, he was invited to present it at a statewide STEM showcase. And guess what? He won. Karen. She spent months hiding from the community. Her reputation shredded. Even Brian eventually stopped defending her. One night, people say they heard her crying outside the PDA office, begging to be reconsidered. She wasn't. That's the sting of karma, isn't it? She thought she could bully a kid into losing. Instead, she destroyed her own standing. A clean, bitter ending for the so-called queen bee. And honestly, watching that smug smirk melt into panic. That was the real victory. When someone like Karen tries to crush someone smaller. Don't you think the universe has a way of flipping the script? Because in this case, sure did. Thanks for watching, and if you love seeing Karens get the karma they deserve, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories. You ever walk outside thinking it's just another regular Tuesday, then see your car peppered with arrows like it wandered into a medieval battlefield? I stood there, blinking at the carbon fiber shafts sticking out of my hood, while a 12-year-old kid in camo shorts calmly notched another one on his bow. And when I stormed over, ready to explode, his mom just shrugged and said, "He's just practicing. On my Honda Civic." I swear. The scream caught in my throat before I even realized I was holding my breath. My fingers trembled as I pulled the nearest arrow from my grill. It let out a metallic clink as it dropped to the pavement, bouncing once, then rolling in a lazy circle like it knew exactly how insane this moment was. This wasn't a Nerf toy or some backyard archery set from Walmart. These were hunting arrows, the kind with razor-sharp tips that could tear through more than just thin Japanese steel. "You can't be serious," I snapped, voice rising. "He shot real arrows at my car. You call this practicing?" Karen won Miss bobbed hair, leopard print leggings, and attitude as strong as her perfume folded her arms like I was inconveniencing her. "He needs outdoor time. Boys need outlets," she said with a smug nod, like she was quoting some parenting podcast. That's when Karen too waddled over from the porch, sipping iced tea and squinting at the scene. "Oh please, it's not like he hit you. You're fine. The car's fine. It's just a little scratchin'." "Scratchin'?" "Lady, there were 3 arrows stuck in the hood, 2 more embedded in the front tire, and 1 terrifyingly close to my windshield." My Civic looked like it had survived a reenactment of the Battle of Hastings. "Call the cops if you want," Karen too huffed, rolling her eyes. "We know the sheriff. Good luck getting him to care." Then she actually winked. That's when the twist hit me like a slap in the face. I knew these women. They were HOA board members. Not just member sisters, running the neighborhood like it was their personal kingdom. Every letter about grass height, every warning about my motion lights being too aggressive them. And now they were letting their little spawn treat my car like target practice while hiding behind their titles and connections. I exhaled slowly. My blood was boiling. My brain screamed, "Do something. Don't let this slide." So I smiled. Yep, I smiled and said, "All right, no problem." That shut them up for a second. Karen one's eyebrow twitched. "What do you mean, no problem?" I leaned down, picked up the arrows one by one, and placed them carefully in a Ziploc bag from my trunk. Took photos, every angle, even got the kid in the background holding his bow. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just documented. The way Karen 2's smirk began to fade was like watching a storm cloud roll in over her spray-tanned face. "Oh, I'll call the cops," I said, calm as a monk. "But not to yell. I just want the incident logged. Because, you know, insurance." I tapped my phone like I had State Farm on speed dial. "And if your son practices on the wrong car next time, like, say, Mr. Burroughs' Tesla across the street, well, that's gonna cost someone a kidney." Suddenly they weren't so smug. Karen 1 reached for her kid's bow and barked. "Inside. Now." The boy slinked away without a word, clearly used to his mother making messes she couldn't clean up. Karen 2 tried to pivot. "Look, we didn't mean harm. It was just the gets excited, you know? He's been training for the youth archery tournament." "Oh, is there a category for drive-by car attacks?" I asked sweetly. She didn't respond. And here's where the karma started cooking. I followed up the next day not with the sheriff, no use to rebut with my insurance company and a friend who just happened to be an attorney specializing in property damage and HOA abuses. You see, there's a little clause in our HOA contract one Karen herself helped write that explicitly bans dangerous activity involving weapons in public-facing spaces. Guess what qualifies? Archery. Even on your lawn. Especially if it crosses into someone else's property like my driveway. Fast forward a week, and the HOA board called a special meeting. Guess who had to recuse themselves due to conflict of interest? Yup, the Karen sisters. Turns out, once I filed the complaint and insurance got involved, a few more neighbors came forward. One lady said the same kid shot at her recycling bin. Another claimed he nearly took out her dog. The Karens had been keeping it quiet, guilt-tripping anyone who complained. But now? Oh, the gates were open, baby. They tried to fight back, of course. Said I was harassing them. Said I was exaggerating. I brought video. Yeah. Turns out, my doorbell cam had caught the entire incident, arrows flying. My car getting impaled. Karen 1 laughing. Dead silence at the meeting. You could hear someone's AC humming 3 houses away. One of the other board members muttered, "Jesus, that's not practicing, that's felony-level stupid." Karen 2 tried to blame her nephew. "He borrowed the bow from school. It wasn't even ours." She looked around like someone might back her up, but the only sound was the HOS secretary typing notes. Expressionless. I leaned in and said, maybe next time try letting him practice on a target, not my damn car. And that's when Karen 1 lost it. Oh, so now you're the victim? You think you're better than everyone just because you drive a hybrid and paint your door navy blue? Everyone blinked. The room fell into stunned confusion. I couldn't help ITI laughed. Loud. Lady, this isn't about my door. It's about your kid treating the neighborhood like grand theft archery. They suspended both sisters from the board. Indefinitely. Want the final blow? Code enforcement showed up 2 days later. Turns out their outdoor practice zone was an unpermitted structure. The backyard shed had illegal wiring, the fencing didn't meet city code, and their home insurance? Invalidated because of unreported weapons training. Oh, and Karen 2's lease on her SUV? Cancelled by the same insurer that paid for my car repairs. You can't make this up. The arrow they launched came right back and hit them square in the wallet. And I didn't have to raise my voice once. Would you believe me if I said Karen 1 still glares at me every morning like I'm the one who committed a war crime? Let her. I smile, wave, then drive, offer a free, knowing that sometimes the best revenge doesn't come with shouting. Comes with paperwork. Now, every time I walk to my car, I glance over at the Karen sisters' house. It's quieter now, no kid with a bow. No smug looks from the porch. No iced tea sipping while they plan their next HOA power trip. Just silence and that brittle tension that hangs in the air after someone's pride has been cracked wide open. I almost feel bad. Almost. But then I remember the lawsuit. Yep, you read that right. After the insurance claim and HOA action, Karen 1 had the nerve to try suing me for emotional distress because I had turned the neighborhood against her. Her words, not mine. Of course, my attorney just laughed and filed a countersuit for damages, legal fees, and defamation. The court tossed her case out faster than you can say frivolous, and now she owes me nearly $2,400. The irony? Her sister's SUV repossession was what made the news. Local blog picked it up under the headline, HOA leader cited after child uses arrows on neighbor's vehicle. It went viral faster than they could delete their Facebook comments. The HOA board officially voted to revise their bylaws to ban family members of board members from serving simultaneously. They're officially done. The best part? Karen 2 tried to play victim after it all. Came up to me in the cul-de-sac with watery eyes, saying, "You didn't have to go that far." I stared at her for a second, shook my head slowly, and said, "You literally let your kid treat my car like a wild animal. I didn't go far enough." She never spoke to me again. So if you're out there dealing with a Karen, especially one protected by a board, a title, or a fake smiled and explode, don't shout. Just document, stay sharp, and hit back with the one thing they can't argue with, the truth. And maybe a little legal action. Because in the end, nothing cuts deeper than a lawsuit with receipts. Thanks for listening, and if you want more real stories where Karens get exactly what they deserve, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. She parked 3 trucks in our driveway like she owned the damn place, no heads up. No knock. Just took over our home like it was a Walmart lot. And when Grandpa saw her strutting around in flip-flops and a clipboard like she was General Patton, he locked her in with chains and called the sheriff. Yeah, you heard that right. I wish I could say this was an overreaction, but once you meet Karen, you'll understand why Grandpa, war vet and all, didn't even blink before going full Fort Knox on her tail. The thing is, this didn't come out of nowhere. It was a hot July morning, the kind where the pavement burns through your flip-flops, when it all kicked off. Grandpa had just returned from his weekly fishing trip, the one he takes religiously every Thursday with his rusty tackle box and that thermos he never washes. He pulled up the gravel path humming Johnny Cash, only to slam on the brakes halfway up the drive. 3 brand new Ford F-150s were parked across our yard and the full length of our driveway, shiny, aggressive, like they were posing for a damn car commercial, blocking everything, including his ramp. Now, let me back up a sec. Grandpa's not just a proud old man, he's a triple amputee Navy vet who rebuilt this house after my grandma passed. That ramp? That's not decoration. This is lifeline. He sat there for a second, engine idling, eyebrows twitching like they do when something's about to go sideways. Then he spotted her. Karen. Real name Melissa Vanderbrook, but everyone calls her Karen. Even her mailman, and that guy's half-blind. She was standing in our yard on our porch, technically yapping into a Bluetooth headset, swinging her latte like a baton. She didn't even glance at Grandpa when he rolled down his window and said, real quiet but firm, "You mind explaining what the hell this is?" She turned, smiled like she was selling real estate and said, "Oh, you must be the tenant. I needed overflow parking for the committee meeting tonight. Don't worry. It's HOA business, you'll be fine." Tenant. Grandpa blinked like someone slapped him with a fish. "Ma'am, this is my property. I've owned it since 1972. Nobody asked you to park here." Karen's smile didn't fade, in fact. It got wider. More teeth. "Well, we're all part of the HOA now, and your property is considered shared under our new easement rules. Didn't you read the newsletter?" That's when it hit me. She thought she was running a real HOA, except there isn't one. Our street doesn't have one. Never has. Karen had made it up. Created forms, logos, even a fake website that looked like a discount insurance scam. And now, she was using it to commandeer Grandpa's land. He didn't argue, didn't yell, didn't say a word, just backed up his truck, rolled slowly toward the barn, and disappeared inside. 15 minutes later, I heard the click. The unmistakable, metallic scrape of chain over latch, then a padlock snapping shut. Karen didn't notice right away. She was still playing Queen Bee, directing some dude in khakis to park straighter. But when she tried to get back in her truck and the chain clinked across the bumper, she froze. She looked down, then around, and realized something was very, very wrong. That's when Grandpa reappeared. He stood at the edge of the barn in his worn-out army tee, arms crossed, not saying a word, just watching, silent like a damn ghost. You could hear the cicadas buzzing in the heat. Karen stormed across the grass in wedges that weren't made for uneven ground, shouting, "You can't do this! This is illegal detainment." Grandpa raised a brow. "So is trespassing. And forgery. And impersonating an HOA. You want to keep shouting? Or should I call the sheriff?" She went pale. For the first time since moving in 3 months ago, Karen shut up. But here's the twist. She tried to call his bluff. Pulled out her phone, dialed 911, and with full-on drama yelled, "Help! I'm being held hostage by a man with military weapons." That was her mistake. Because when the sheriff showed up, lights flashing, sirens screaming, he didn't cuff Grandpa. Nope. He stepped out of his cruiser, looked at the chains, looked at Karen, and said with a sigh, "Melissa, again?" Apparently, this wasn't her first rodeo. The deputy's tone said it all, weary, mildly entertained, and absolutely not surprised. "Melissa, again?" he muttered, scribbling something in his notepad like this was just another Tuesday in small-town drama, USA. Karen, or Melissa Vanderbrook of the self-appointed HOA, as she fancied herself, spun toward him, face redder than a sunburned tomato. "He locked me in, with chains. That's unlawful imprisonment. And he's got weapons. I demand you arrest him." But the sheriff didn't even flinch. He glanced at the padlock chain looping through all 3 trucks' bumpers and then looked at Grandpa, still calm as a rattlesnake in the shade. "Were these vehicles on your property, Mr. Carter?" Grandpa nodded once. "Blocking my ramp. Couldn't even get inside." "Did you give permission for them to park here?" Grandpa let out the softest, driest chuckle. "She never asked. Just showed up like she owns the joint." Karen gasped like she'd been slapped with a fish. "That's a lie. I notified him via HOA email. The parking variance was clearly posted in our bylaws." The sheriff blinked, then sighed again. "Ma'am, we've been over this. There is no recognized HOA on this street. You made that up. We told you that after the 4th of July incident." "Oh, right. The fireworks." Back then, Karen had tried to fine 3 families for illegal firework display coordination. Problem was, those families included a retired firefighter, a city councilman, and you guessed it, the sheriff's sister. So that backfired real quick. Anyway, Karen was sputtering now, trying to recover. But the bylaws. The board approved." "What board?" the sheriff asked deadpan. "You're the only member, Melissa." She paused, glared, then tried to pivot. "Well, he still chained my trucks. That's vandalism." The sheriff raised an eyebrow and looked again at the padlocks neat, clean, and looped through the towing mounts. Nah, I call that secure parking. I swear I saw Grandpa smirk. Then came the part I'll never forget. The sheriff took off his sunglasses, looked Karen dead in the eyes and said, "Ma'am, you've got two choices. Call a tow company and get your trucks legally removed after paying a trespassing fine, or keep going and we talk about criminal impersonation of a legal entity." Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. Twice. Grandpa, still calm as ever, said, "Better pick quick, darlin'. That sun's gonna start warping your dashboards." I don't know what broke her first, the heat, the sheriff, or the realization that her power fantasy had just gotten kneecapped by a man with one leg and zero tolerance for nonsense. But she finally turned on her heel, got in her friend's car, and drove off. Didn't even look back. 2 hours later, a tow truck rolled up. But the story doesn't end there. Nope, because when the sheriff ran the plates on Karen's little HOA fleet, one came back registered to a landscaping company flagged in another county for fraudulent billing. Turns out this wasn't just a petty power trip. Karen had been invoicing neighbors for mandatory HOA landscaping, collecting cash in person, and then pocketing it through her friend's company. She'd even made folks sign contracts she claimed were required by law. The sheriff's eyes lit up when he heard that. "You have any of those forms?" he asked Grandpa. "Got 3 of 'em," Grandpa said, walking back to the barn like he'd just pulled an ace out of his boot. He handed over carbon copies of the fake contracts complete with Karen's signature and a fake HOA stamp she'd clearly designed in Canva. I mean, it literally had clip art roses around the text. Roses. By sundown, the sheriff was on the horn with county investigators. Karen, bless her heart, had turned our sleepy street into the center of a fraud case. The best part? That committee meeting she scheduled? The one she parked 3 trucks for? Yeah, that was meant to be her big moment, a neighborhood compliance hearing, where she'd planned to fine Grandpa $800 for unregistered mobility infrastructure. That's right. She was trying to fine him for his wheelchair ramp. Sick, right? But thanks to Grandpa's lock and call combo move, her whole fake empire crumbled before the first gavel could drop. And as word spread through town, something shifted. Folks who'd been tiptoeing around Karen suddenly found their spine. Miss Nora next door marched over with lemonade and said, "If I knew she was harassing you, I'd have spoken up sooner." The Rodriguez boys spent the next weekend painting Grandpa's fence for free. Even the mailman, half blind and all, shook Grandpa's hand and said, "She always rubbed me the wrong way. Good on you, Karen." Last we heard, she's under investigation for fraud, misrepresentation, and get this, elder intimidation. Her trucks are gone, her little clipboards confiscated, and her fake HOA website redirects to a cat meme now. Sometimes the good guys don't just win, they lock down the driveway and make a statement doing it. What would you have done in Grandpa's boots? If this gave you life, drop a comment below and hit that subscribe. We've got more justice served hot coming your way. They wanted to ruin our block party, but they yanked the wrong alarm. The Karen sisters thought a false fire report would shut us down. Instead, they triggered a response from a dozen off-duty fire marshals who were literally eating ribs when it went off. Crackling flames from the barbecue pits, the hum of old-school R&B, and the sweet scent of grilled corn filled the street. We'd finally pulled it off, a community cookout on Chestnut Lane. After weeks of wrangling permits, arranging food vendors, and convincing the HOA we weren't inviting crime, just by playing music past 7 p.m. I was flipping brisket in my red apron, sweat beating down my temples, when my neighbor Old Man Cleary raised his red Solo cup and toasted, "Best damn ribs I've had since '92, Marcus." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Kids ran wild with bubbles, dogs barked with joy, and grandmas danced near the portable speakers. Everyone was happy. Then came the scream. Fire! Oh my God! Fire! Heads turned. The music screeched to a halt mid-chorus. And I swear time froze. Across the street, standing smugly in matching salmon-colored cardigans, were the Karen sisters. Roxanne and Tilda Harper, 50-something, sharp-chinned, HOA royalty with a permanent scowl and a passion for tattling. They'd fought the block party tooth and nail, calling it a breeding ground for riffraff. And now, they just pulled the fire alarm on the side of the community clubhouse. A shrill wail burst from the red alarm box. Flashing lights stuttered against the warm twilight. People started shouting, panicking, grabbing kids and plates. I ran across the street, lungs tight. "What the hell did you do?" I barked. Tilda sniffed, folding her arms. "We reported an emergency. The smell of smoke was alarming. This is for everyone's safety." "Smoke! It's a barbecue," I spat. "And that's not even a real emergency alarm, that's the emergency fire suppression system. You just triggered an automatic dispatch." Roxanne smiled, her lipstick too red for her teeth. "Good. Maybe now the authorities will shut this mess down. It's a public safety issue." I wanted to scream, but then, we heard it. 12 engines. Well, not engines exactly, but 12 off-duty fire marshals stomping across the lawn like they were walking into a live blaze. Because what these two Karens didn't know was that the fire alarm they pulled, it was connected to the Fire Marshals Association annual dinner, which just so happened to be hosted at the same clubhouse. Only inside, they pulled the alarm on 12 fire marshals who were eating pulled pork and deviled eggs in the next room. Oh, the look on their faces. Chief Wallace, a towering black man with soot-lined boots and barbecue sauce on his shirt, stormed out, fists clenched. "Who pulled the damn handle?" Roxanne's confidence evaporated in a puff of panic. We did. There was smoke." Wallace turned slowly, eyeing the brisket stands, the grills managed by uniformed volunteers with fire permits clearly posted. He saw the calm. No danger. No hazard. No fire. Just ribs. "You pulled a false alarm. During a fire marshal's dinner." His voice was low, like thunder before a storm. "It's not false if we felt endangered," Tilda snapped back, trying to sound legal. Oh no, she did not just try that. Wallace raised a hand, and suddenly, 11 more fire marshals stepped forward like synchronized linebackers. People started recording. I heard someone whisper, "Oh my God, is this happening?" "Ma'am," Wallace said, barely containing his rage. "You just committed a felony." "What?" Roxanne shrieked. "You can't, we're homeowners." "Doesn't matter," one of the female marshals snapped, pulling a citation pad. "You interfered with emergency services and activated a municipal system under false pretenses. That's a Class C offense." "Plus," said another with a badge that said R. Gomez, "you nearly caused a stampede. There are children out here. This could have killed someone." Tilda, voice shaking now, tried to argue. "But this whole thing was a hazard. All that smoke and fire. It's called a grill, lady," someone from the crowd shouted. And then came the moment. The marshals, almost in slow motion, turned toward the Karen sisters. Wallace gave the nod. And in what can only be described as the most satisfying moment of my adult life, both sisters were escorted face down onto the grass. Not slammed, but not gently either. "Oh my God," Roxanne wailed. "My shoulder. I'm pressing charges. We're white women," Tilda shrieked. And the crowd? The crowd went wild. Cheers. Whoops. One old man actually shouted, "Finally, karma." I stood there, apron stained, hands shaking. Not from fear, but from pure, cathartic shock. They had tried to humiliate us, sabotage us, control us, and they got served a flaming platter of justice instead. As the fire marshals restrained them, one of the younger guys, a biracial 20-something with a flat top and a wicked grin, leaned over and whispered something into Roxanne's ear. She froze. I found out later he'd said, "Hope the HOA likes viral videos. You just made TikTok history, ma'am." I swear I heard her soul leave her body. Cops showed up minutes later, sirens wailing. The sisters were read their rights on the curb, tears streaking their powdered cheeks. "Can someone please call our lawyer?" Roxanne begged. "Sure," Wallace said, smiling grimly. "But don't call 911 again. That's how you got here." I exhaled slowly, like I'd been holding my breath since the grill lit that morning. I turned to Cleary, who raised his cup again. "To karma," he toasted. "To brisket," I added. We laughed. The music came back on. The kids returned to the bubbles. And the Karens? They rode away in the back of a patrol car. And that was just the beginning. 3 weeks later, the HOA held an emergency meeting. Not to ban barbecues, oh no, but to suspend the Harper sisters' voting privileges indefinitely. Apparently, pulling a fire alarm on a federally coordinated safety system during an active permit event, surrounded by 12 off-duty fire marshals, wasn't just stupid. It was legally explosive. The HOA's lawyer called it a self-inflicted legal landslide. And get this, turns out one of the fire marshals had a dislocated shoulder from restraining Tilda when she flailed. That's right. They pulled the alarm, caused panic, injured someone else, and then tried to sue us for public endangerment. Except Wallace filed a countersuit, personal lawsuit, for defamation, emotional distress, and misuse of emergency services. When the news got out, the HOA's inbox flooded. Parents, veterans, even local businesses wrote letters in support of the marshals and the neighborhood. We weren't a threat. We were a community. The sisters tried to go quiet. They even skipped the next HOA meeting. But the damage was done. People crossed the street when they walked by. Someone spray-painted "No more false alarms" in chalk outside their house. Kids laughed. The sisters didn't. And me? I got a letter in the mail, signed by Wallace and the marshals. "Thanks for the ribs," it read. "Let us know when the next one is. We'll bring the hot sauce." I smiled so hard my face hurt. And the best part? The entire thing was caught on 5 smartphones, stitched together into one glorious, viral masterpiece titled, "Karen Sisters Try to Sabotage Barbecue Get Laid Out by Fire Marshals." Views? 8.7 million. Comments? Over 42,000. My favorite? "That tackle was cleaner than my taxes." So now every time I walk past the clubhouse, I don't see shame or HOA politics. I see victory. I see a reminder that even when entitled people scream the loudest, the truth hits harder. Sometimes literally. And if you're wondering what happened to the Karen sisters' lawsuit against the city, dismissed. With prejudice. Turns out, lying to emergency services and suing the people who saved your neighborhood barbecue doesn't go over well in court. So next time someone tries to shut you down just because you're living joyfully, don't back down. Document it, stand your ground, and let karma wear a uniform. And if you want more real drama with justice, karma, and the occasional lawsuit twist, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.